Because of the way we set things up, we have to do that. Now, when some say, that's the way it is, tough nuts, sorry, we go, why not change the way we set things up? If you don't like the way things are because they're set up in a way that's giving you obligations that you don't want, why don't you just change the structure? And then you can fundamentally change those obligations which are entitled to it. And that's essentially what we're doing. This is fundamentally changing the way that we structure the way we give funding, or the way we will be a resource to media organizations in the future. Essentially, this idea presupposes that we will close the open forum, where everyone can come and just ask for money, and we have to distribute in a completely viewpoint neutral manner. And what we'll be doing is we'll be moving to a model where you have the associate students will have a large amount of funding that they will have in advertising initiatives. And the associated students can spend money to advertise itself in more or less any way it would like to. There is no constitutional right to be advertised in. There's no constitutional right to get advertising funding. It's very clear. The Supreme Court agrees with me, and you're going to hear them about 10 times say they agree with me in the following. Not in addition to the Supreme Court, even the Supreme Court didn't comment on this already. The UCSD Campus Legal Counsel agrees that there is no jurisprudence that says that this is against the Constitution. None. Because government advertising is not an open forum where we're excluding certain viewpoints. It's the associate students deciding how it wants to advertise itself and how it thinks it can do so in the most effective manner. So I guess with that, I'm going to start with this slideshow so you can all see that I've said this. I've said UCSD's counsel said this is probably legal. I've said the University of California Office of the President has said this is probably legal. It will stand muster. But if y'all don't believe me, I'm just going to throw it to the Supreme Court. So if you could just... Fantastic. Supreme Court's summarization of the idea of government speech. When the government is promoting its own policies through free speech or spending, the First Amendment does not apply, and the government has essentially no constraints. That is, Pleasant Grove, City versus Summit. Pretty straight there. The First Amendment does not apply. The government is promoting its own policies through speech or spending. Can't be much clearer, but we'll make it much clearer. The Supreme Court reaffirmed and expanded upon this principle. The government can, without violating the Constitution, selectively fund a program to encourage certain activities it believes to be in the public interest, without at the same time funding an alternative program which seeks to deal with the problem in another way. In so doing, the government has not discriminated on the basis of viewpoint. It has merely chosen to fund one activity to the exclusion of the other. Keyword here being fund. We're not talking about we're here to pass legislation that says you can never say anything racist ever again. That's not what we're here to decide. We're here to decide how we are going to spend our funding to most effectively create a campus community at UCSD that we can all be proud of. And the Supreme Court has said that when we don't do it in an open forum format, that is completely constitutional. Next slide. Democratic values lie at the heart of government speech doctrine. Elected governments must promote some viewpoints over others if they are to accomplish the goals for which they were elected. Not to call out anyone that ran in elections in the past, but essentially you don't have politicians going, I'm going to support you and whatever you're saying, and then someone else goes, but I believe the opposite, and going, fantastic, I'm going to support your voice. Because essentially students will have conflicting interests, they will have conflicting opinions, and that is what the democratic process is for. It is to determine whose voices and which voices will be implemented. That's the heart of democracy. Continue. A government entity is ultimately accountable to the electorate and the political process for its advocacy. The essential point of this is that when people say, oh, there'll be a tyrannical associate students that will come in and suppress all of these righteous organizations, that's what the political process is for. That's what it's set up there for. You can never ensure that there will never be any problems. There could be abuse within our current system, just so you know. There could be plenty of abuses. I'm not even going to get into how many abuses there could be in the system, but just, I don't know what the number means, sorry.
9 minutes.
Gotcha. There's abuses in every system. Just so you know, there's no perfect system. I just think this one's superior. Continue. Supreme Court precedent keeps rolling. The government may allocate competitive funding according to criteria that would be impermissible were direct regulation of speech or criminal penalty at stake. This is essentially what I was saying earlier. We're not here to discuss the outline of saying anything racist. We're not here to discuss the fact that we're going to make sure no one can ever hold a racist viewpoint here. What we're saying is we just don't think that's an effective way of spending our money. I mean, we don't think that's an effective way of spending our money. We think we can spend it in another way that doesn't have the same harmful side effects to the campus climate. This is essentially the difference between a positive duty to receive funding and a negative duty not to be physically coerced into not exercising one's free speech.
Pete.
Essentially different. Yeah.
There's got 2 more people after you. So
Okay, cool. Well, then we'll just hurry up the thing. Well, why do we fund media orgs in the first place? Why do we fund media orgs just to start? Well, essentially, we fund media organizations because we think it improves the student life here at UCSD. That's why we would fund anything, is we think it has a positive impact on our campus. But clearly, our current system of funding does not allow us to achieve this objective effectively, or at least not as effectively as we could if we change the system that we currently have in place. I mean, I don't think anyone here would say that structurally our system is achieving a better campus life, a welcoming community for all students here at UCSD effectively. It's not. So instead of just being happy with that, I say, why not change that system? Continue. That's it. Thank you very much.